Hey guys, my name is EJ Spurl, and today we're going to discuss Atheism Plus. Welcome to Trigger Warning. Now, I personally identify as an agnostic atheist. For the uninformed, what that basically means is that I don't rightly know if there's a God, but I doubt it. The evidence as I see it doesn't really add up, and so I've chosen to live my life as though there is no God. Now, I do count myself as an atheist, but to be clear, there is a difference between an atheist and an anti-theist. An atheist, as I understand them, rejects religious ideology on a personal level, but they're generally fine with other people practicing their own faith. An anti-theist, on the other hand, is someone who rejects religion outright and does what he or she can to dissuade religion or religious people. Atheism Plus hit the scene back in 2012, and for all intents and purposes seems to be a feminist wing of atheism, or an atheist wing of feminism. To be honest, I really can't tell the difference. But I do have a problem with it. I and many others like me tend to see feminism as a form of ideology, much like religion. It comes complete with its own set of rules, dogmas, and villains, much like religion. So since Atheism Plus has hit the atheist community, it's resulted in somewhat of a divide between said community. There have always been debates on how to be atheist, but none so much as those between those who are atheist and those who are atheist feminist. Since its inception, its members have publicly attacked prominent members of the atheist community, such as Richard Dawkins, author of The God Delusion, and popular atheist YouTubers such as Jacqueline Glenn and The Amazing Atheist. The thing is, I always saw atheism to be devoid of ideology. Like the popular argument, if every channel on the TV is a religion, atheism is the off switch. But when a group of atheists adopt an ideology, which I personally see as a religion in its own right, it tends to remove the whole point of being atheist in the first place. Now, I'm not going to suggest that people can't care about equal gender rights and be atheist, but Atheism Plus seems to be rather one-sided on the issue of gender rights. Public scrutiny over some of the claims made by certain members of Atheism Plus, such as the Rebecca Watson Elevator Gate scandal, have led their entire community to rally around them, as though the only reason they're being scrutinized is because they're female. Atheism Plus members who have adopted a certain standpoint on gender disparity, many of which remain unproven, have taken a similar route. I personally believe that this is leading to a divide in atheism, which, by its very definition, should not be divisive at all. The truth is that atheists only have one thing in common, and it should be the only guideline on how to be atheist: to reject religion. When you start making rules, applying dogma and unproven theory to skeptical discourse, that makes it every bit as much a religion as Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. It stops becoming atheism or skepticism and starts becoming something else entirely. It's so far outside the realm of skepticism that it can only be called an ideology. There should be no divide in atheism at all if all atheism is the rejection of religion. None whatsoever. See, I don't see a personal need for Atheism Plus. If you're an atheist and a feminist, that's fine. But please, let's not pretend that atheism is in any way related to feminism. Have certain religions historically discriminated against women? Yeah. In many cases, we see that that is indeed the case. And an atheist can call that out without bringing feminism into the conversation. Now, by not adopting Atheism Plus, I've actually personally been called part of the problem. An Atheism Plus YouTuber once publicly stated that if you were a liberal intellectual guy with a healthy interest in skepticism but finds feminism distasteful and would rather not hear about it, that you are worse than rape threats. Yeah. And that statement alone contributes to this divide. In fact, in no uncertain terms, it encourages that divide. In essence, it suggests that there should be a set of rules governing atheism. And that is bullshit. You see, I'm interested in science and skepticism. I'm an intellectual. I wouldn't call myself a liberal, but I wouldn't call myself a conservative, libertarian, or socialist either. I dislike political labels for the exact same reason I dislike religious labels, because it puts me into a group. It creates an us versus them mentality. Atheism is the disbelief in a God, and that's it. That's all. Nothing more and nothing less. By following that definition, it means that we can reject the idea of labels. You see, we can choose to be conservative or liberal and still be atheist because the definition is simple and undivisive. Atheism Plus makes an amendment to that definition based not on reason but on emotive dogma, and has thus created a religion all on its own, with reactions against those who disagree with it which run along the same lines as religious people who attack and blame atheists. People who are in Atheism Plus, you're atheists. You're also feminists. So why do you need a label that automatically divides you from the atheists who do not want to associate with feminism? Why would you choose to put yourself in a new category, to put that label on yourself? It simply doesn't make sense to me. You can be an atheist, and you can be a feminist without having to join the definition into one. But regardless of that, it's sickening to see what's happening to atheism as a result. I liked the atheism movement because it was simple and uncomplicated. It allowed me a venue to discuss skepticism, science, and other subjects without applying to any sort of dogma. Many of the arguments that I got into were very rational, clear-minded. But then Atheism Plus came onto the scene, and all of a sudden the conversations were being dominated by feminist theory. It no longer became about science and skepticism. It became about blind faith. Either way, I'm going to remain an agnostic atheist, and still engage in the community when I can. Gender rights are an interest of mine as well, but it's something that I prefer to keep separate from my skepticism. And never the twain shall meet. Because gender rights tend to be based largely on anecdotal evidence, opinion, and experience, whereas skepticism tends to be based largely on science, reason, and rationality. So anyways, thanks for your time, guys. As always, my name is EJ Spurl, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe below, and I'll see you next time. In my very humble male opinion, feminists need to take a lesson from their own book. Listen to women.